So I want to come clean about a recurring thought that I've had over the last few weeks. As I was finishing up the first draft of book 2 in my epic fantasy series, I realized a flaw in the current structuring of the Novelist Apprenticeship Challenge. But at the same time, the potential solution for this flaw might affect you all as well. So today I want to take some time to talk about the problem, how I think I can go about fixing it, and give you all some time and space to share your thoughts on this as well. So first, let's start with the problem. Basically, the problem that I noticed stems from the time constraints with regard to the Novelist Apprenticeship Challenge. And I've noticed that this strict time schedule is holding me back in two ways. First, I'm neglecting important skills that I need to learn as a writer, and second, I'm taking an inefficient approach toward skill development. So first, let's talk about the neglecting of important skills. As I've been writing these first two books in a series, so far, I've gotten the opportunity to work on plotting quite a bit, creating character arcs, both positive and flat, and just telling stories in general, and I think that's great because that is definitely something I need to work on. But as I've been thinking about it more and more, I'm realizing that I'm actually missing out on getting the chance to work on some really important skills as a writer, and especially as a writer of fantasy. And these skills are character creation, especially POV character creation, and world building / magic systems. And one of these skills is important regardless of what type of novel you're writing, and two of them are vital for fantasy writers in particular. And I really don't want to be neglecting all of these skills because of the fact that I'm writing a series and don't really have the need to create any of these from scratch again. And I don't really see the opportunity to work on these very much while continuing the Novelist Apprenticeship Challenge as it's been going. And that brings us to the second problem, because even if I was able to work on these as part of the series that I'm currently writing, I don't think that the way I'm currently approaching the skill development here is as efficient as it could be. But to talk about this, we need to talk about some of the foundations of skill development. And one of the foundations of this is properly calibrating the difficulty of the activity that you're aiming to get better at. When you're trying to improve at a skill, you want to push yourself out of your comfort zone, of course, but you don't want to push yourself so far out of your comfort zone that you're really overwhelmed and your brain is having trouble processing and parsing the stimuli for actual lessons learned. Let's look at a simple example that I think will illustrate this very clearly. Let's say that you're a basketball player and you really want to become good at like street basketball. You want to be able to play like 1-on-1 or 2v2, whatever. So what you decide you want to do to improve this skill is just play 1-on-1s every single day for like a year or something. So how do you think you would improve more if, for instance, you decided you were going to play against somebody to start with who's like a little bit better than you, and then when you get up to that person's skill level, you pick somebody else that's a little bit better than them, and you just keep doing that over and over again? Or do you think it would be smarter and more efficient to just start playing against LeBron James? And of course, this example is a little bit ridiculous and exaggerates, but it does still illustrate the point that I'm trying to make, which is basically that you don't want to overwhelm yourself with things that are too high above your current skill set if you want to efficiently learn. So let's apply this to novels. And I'm going to ignore genres or anything like that because of course story complexity will vary between genres. Rather, I'm just talking about whether the book is a standalone and how many POV characters are in the book. So from that, you would think the easiest would be a standalone with a single POV character, right? And then maybe the next hardest is a series with a single POV character, and then a standalone with multiple POVs, and then a series with multiple POVs. And which one am I currently working on? Yes, a series with multiple POV characters, which is basically the hardest type of story that you can tell, or at least the most complex. And while I've been doing this process, especially when writing the second book, I noticed that I was feeling kind of overwhelmed because trying to negotiate all these different series aspects and a multi-POV story, it's just so many things to focus on, and I don't think that I'm currently at a skill set where I have the ability to focus on all these things and actually maximally improve my skills while doing this. So I'm thinking that what would make more sense to do is to write a simpler type of story. Maybe just start with a standalone with a single POV character and really focus on nailing that down and mastering the elements of a story like that. And then once I've figured that out, then I can move up to a little bit more of a difficult story. But by doing that, I'm just expanding my skill set more and more and increasing the amount of stuff that I can do on autopilot, and then giving myself the ability to focus on some of those newer and harder things later on. But this brings us back to the problem that I was talking about before, because if I want to finish 8 books in 2 years, I really don't have time to do the world building, the magic system creation, and the character creation necessary for telling a completely new story, and especially for writing a bunch of different standalones. And the reason why I just haven't switched to doing standalones, or I haven't decided to change things drastically up until this point, is because I don't want to break my promise that I made to you. I decided and I told you that I was going to be writing 8 books in 2 years, and I was committed to sticking to that. And to a degree, I still want to do that out of some sick sense of like doing what I said I was going to do. But at the same time, even if I did that, and even if I did manage to write all 8 books in the course of 2 years, I don't think that I would improve as much as I want to as a writer, and the whole point of this challenge in the first place is improve my skills. So what I've been thinking is that maybe what I should do is just decrease the amount of books that I'm aiming to write in general. Lower the goal just a little bit to 5 or 6 books over 2 years, and thus give myself some time to focus on these other types of skills, to focus on the world building, to focus on the magic system creation, to focus on character building, especially with regard to POV characters. And might be a positive thing for you also, because then you'd get to see videos about those different skill sets as well, instead of just kind of repeating the same thing over and over again, where I'm just writing a new story in the series and really focusing on the plotting and all that sort of stuff. So hopefully you're as excited about this change of plans as I am. But of course, if you have any concerns, if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear them in the comments. I'd love to discuss with you, because I really want to be responsive to your desires and make this adjustment work for all of us.